Oh, why did I? Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see if this guy is giving Sonatype. This should be. Yeah, I remember I didn't have to go through this whole thing of providing details.
We came to this and you moved on to the other window.
Yeah. So what you could do is you can come to this window. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay. So you can come here, you can provide your details, and after you provide your details, it will give you option to download the open source. So there are two options. Okay. One is Nexus Repository OSS and the Sonatype Nexus Repository Pro. You don't need Pro because that's a paid solution. What you need is you need the free version. Okay. So when you say download free, it'll ask you to enter these details. Just enter these details and download it on your machine. Okay. Once you download it on your machine, you'd have, let me stop this guy for a second. You'll have a folder like this, zip file. Just unzip it wherever you want to unzip it. I mean, I'm not going to keep this with me for long, so I just unzipped it in download. But if you're going to keep it somewhere for a long time and play with it, just keep it in your installation folder or wherever. And once you do that, you would see these two folders in it, Sonatype work, where all the work that you do is all kept over here, the blob storage. And the second one is Nexus, actual Nexus installation. You can go to the bin directory, open up a command prompt at the bin directory. That's what I've done over here. And just run the command nexus.exe/run. Okay, I had this link over here. Let me see if this guy is any better. Yeah, maybe you can follow this guy. Yeah, you can follow this guy. I'll give it to you here. Do you prefer WhatsApp
Yeah,
message?
WhatsApp will be better actually. Yeah.
Okay, let me do that. This one, follow this one. It's a very simple one. As soon as you're able to download it, you run this command. He has said what to do there. And then the server should start up. This is not how I would use it in production. Okay, when I use it in production, I'm going to look at what database it needs, and I'll not want it to go to the default database, which is in-memory database. I don't want to do that, right? So I'm going to make configuration changes before I run this. So if you look at the VM option over here, these are all the VM options. So Karaf, Java, IoT, MPTIR, logging, where should it log? All of that information is given over here. I would keep all those. I consider that as noise right now, because what you need to know at the moment, I mean, since you're a fresher, just out of college, right? Nobody would expect you to install this and set it up for production use. People would already have it. That's the understanding. And if they already have it, they would expect you to know how to use it. If a need arises that you have to go and install it, you'll have to read those best practices and set up Nexus in a way that it is ready for production use. Okay. So I'm not going to cover that at the moment. If need arises, we can definitely go through it in the future. So let it come up. Now, once it comes up, I should be able to go to localhost 8081, but let it come up first. The first time that you start it, it'll save your administration password somewhere in the directory over here. Okay. Let me see if I have it still. No. I don't have it, but it'll tell you where it has saved that password while starting this in the logs. Okay, or that reference which I gave you, that guy also might be talking about it. I'm not sure. I've not read it. But it'll give you admin password, and you'll have to use that admin password to set your password for the first time, what I did. So you see this, the server came up. And now when I sign in, I'm able to sign in with my password that I have set up. I'm in. Any questions so far, what I've done?
No, sir, it's clear.
Good.
So
By
Samir bhai,
default,
I
yeah,
have a
go ahead.
question. So you have downloaded this, right? So the where is it storing the data? Like, does it set up a database behind the scene in that
It is storing everything in a blob here.
blob here? Okay.
This one here. So these all blobs were generated. These all generated.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as I remember using Sonatype Nexus a couple of years back, there used to be a Postgres back database or a MySQL back database.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it is using it even now. You might have to dig in a little bit if you
Sure.
want to
Okay.
use Sonatype Nexus. I wouldn't recommend using Sonatype Nexus and setting it up yourself unless you're a very small organization. I would rather let you use JFrog Artifactory, which is a SaaS solution. So the company pays for it and you don't have to worry about setting it up, upgrading it, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yep. But since you need something to work with, right? Otherwise, you don't follow the fundamental concept of how things work. This is a nice place for you to set it up. And Sonatype Nexus is a great product. Okay, don't take me wrong. It's a great product, but you need to have a team who could install it and set it up for you for production usage. Okay, can I proceed?
Sure.
All right. So now it has come up and we are able to log in. And by default, you would see these repositories that are already created. So if you notice over here, there's a Maven public repository, Maven release repository, Maven snapshot repository. There's a NuGet repository, which is mostly for Node.js, right? Not Node.js, your .NET projects, correct? Seth, you should know this better.
Yeah.
So there are NuGet repositories over here, okay? If I go to create, so this is the repository view, okay, or browser view. If you go to the administration view, you have an option to create repositories. Okay, when you go here, you see all those repositories, and if you want to, you can go and look at what are the configurations over here, and you can even delete that repository if you wanted to delete it. Okay, but what I don't want to delete anything for now, just keep it as is because it gives you a nice position to start working out of the box. But if you wanted to create any other repositories, the types of repositories that I was talking about earlier, right? You can look over here, apt, bower, so on and so forth, Docker, Go, Helm, Maven 2, NPM, NuGet, P2, Py, Ruby, Yum, so on and so forth, R, okay? Notice very closely there are brackets on the side. There is a hosted repository and there's a proxy repository. And if you look at Maven itself, look at it. There's a group, there's hosted, there's proxy. Okay, let's talk about it a little more over here. It's a good concept. We saw there is hosted, proxy, and group. What does that mean? Hosted, as the name implies, it means you're hosting it yourself. So let's say you're creating a Maven repository and you're calling it XYZ. That's your hosted. That's the actual repository where your artifacts will go. Okay. If there is somebody who's already hosted somewhere, so there are several people that are hosting Maven repositories. Like I showed you the other day, right? And Seth asked me the question about the Maven Central, can you change it or not? And then immediately at the end of the session, he replied back that is baked into Maven. So that we have something called as Maven Central Repo. That is baked in. That is from where all the dependencies are downloaded. Okay, that's one repository. Red Hat could have its own repository, and it has its own repository. That's Red Hat repository. Somebody else could have their own repository, XYZ, like how you would be creating your repository now. Somebody else could have it. Now, what you would want to do is, if there is a repository that a developer says, I want from Red Hat, you're not going to create a hosted repository, download everything from here and push it out over here. You're not going to do that. You're going to create a proxy repository and give the reference to this remote host. So imagine it as a remote repository. Make sense so far?
Yes, yes.
Okay. You could end up creating multiple repositories over here. Let's say one is for snapshot, like what they have done, and the other one is for release repositories. It could be any other name, okay? I'm just giving it some X and Y name. When you want to access this all repositories plus your proxy repository through a common name, that is when this group comes into picture. So you create a group, let's say X, Y, Z, and you have ABC, which is hosted, and LMN as remote. And then you can add as many hosted and as many remote, and you can even add a group in it. So if you have another group that refers to some other, you can add that group also. So technically, from this single repository, your users will be able to download artifacts from any one of those repositories. If you don't understand the whole full picture, it's okay, but you understand the concept that I'm showing you over here, right? Seth, are you understanding?
Yes.
Okay. So just remember that hosted is individual blocks. Okay. Proxy goes out to the cloud. Okay. And group could group hosted repos, and I'm putting S over here with the exclamation, can put proxies, and can also put group inside it, other group. Clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then when we say in your Maven POM file, you can define a repository block and you point it to this group. That means this particular Maven project, if you add a dependency A, B, C, they will get it. And if A is only here and B is coming from this remote repository and C is coming from some remote repository from this group, they are able to define all these dependencies and get it from this group instead of going to Maven Central. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why is this important? Think of it this way. Today you have your project and that project goes to Maven Central to bring the dependencies. Okay. What you want to do is every time it goes to Maven Central to bring the dependencies, you have a developer who's caching his repository over here in M2. Like this, multiply it as you have several developers. All of them are doing the same thing. So you're making a round trip over to the server every single time. So what you do is you bring a proxy over here and put it over here. That is your Nexus, let's say. And what you tell these developers is you don't go to Maven Central by definition, and we will see it. There's a concept of mirror. When we talk about mirror, we're going to say everybody will go only through this Nexus. They will not take a route to Maven Central directly. This is what I was talking about, Seb, the other day, right? I said there is a way to do it, but not a direct way. This is the way. So we force everybody, in the way I had set up for Zenmonics was you force everybody to go through it because you're mirroring through Nexus. So nobody else goes directly to Maven Central. And since we have set up a remote repository that goes to Maven Central anyway, so you are not losing anything. If there's an X dependency, Y dependency, and Z dependency over here, you're still getting it. But look at the beauty that you get. This guy is caching it. If one developer asked for it and this guy cached it, next time some other developer needs it, it'll not go to Maven Central. It'll just serve it from here. So this copies the round trip that developers were making is solved now because now your proxy is serving it to you. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
These
And
are
plus,
these are all design decisions, okay? These are all design decisions how you want it. You might be too young to understand everything that I'm saying right now. It's okay if you don't understand. But someday as you grow in your career, you'll remember these facts that, hey, you know what? It makes sense to cache it. It makes sense to improve the performance. What if we want to add some blocks? We do not want everybody to go to a vulnerable remote repository. We can stop it right over here. Okay. So forget about everything I'm saying. This is not very important, but important. Okay. Not important for you right now, but as you grow, this will be very important for you to make decisions. Okay. Anyway, so I want to really show you. I mean, I told you that this session is going to be a great session, right? So let's go here. I've set this up for you, and I am going to see Maven clean deploy, and I'll hope this will not blow up like how it was blowing up last time. No, it did not. So that means it did deploy a repository. Let's go to Nexus. Let's go to the browser view. Let's go to browse. And let's go to, I'm sending it to snapshot, okay? Because it's a snapshot repository. And you see over here, com, Lotus of my first app Java. And there's this dependency, the one dependency that I sent first. So remember this, okay? This 1, 2, whatever is coming, it's a snapshot repository, okay? But it'll version it with some timestamp, okay? So my jar is over here, which is under 1.0 snapshot only. So don't get confused because of these two separate ones. That's the way Nexus stores it. It doesn't really overwrites anything, just in case you need it. But it's whenever you ask for 1.0 snapshot repository, that's the latest one is what you'll get. So when you click on it, it gives you a way how anybody who wants to consume it would be able to consume it. They'll be able to add this dependency in their POM file, and they will get this dependency automatically. Okay? With me so far?
yes, I mean, I think I missed some part here. So where did we specify that when we deploy it, it will
No, I would
upload
not. I
Nexus?
have not shown you that, right? I
Okay,
told you when I ran the command, I told you this. I've set up
okay,
some magic, and that magic we have not looked at
okay,
yet.
okay,
Yes, yet. We'll look at it.
okay.
But before we look at the magic, what I want you to confirm is, yes, I did see that the artifact, you did a Maven deploy and it got deployed. So I will go ahead here. Let's see if I have, yeah, I'm signed in. And delete this folder. It's gone, okay? Now it's not there. I'll go and run this command again. And then refresh it over here. Now you have this version available to you. How did this happen? So I will go back to this guy over here and do a little whiteboarding for you guys. Where are you, whiteboard? Okay, stop sharing and whiteboard. Okay. So what I will do here is show you two fundamental concepts, okay? The first fundamental concept is called as POM reference. And the second fundamental concept is called settings reference. Okay. ignore reference for now. So you want to worry about POM and you want to worry about settings. Okay. What we have seen is we have a Nexus server over here. And we have a POM or Maven project over here. This Maven project has a pom.xml file. What I told you last time is if you want to deploy something to Nexus, you need to create a distribution management block inside the pom.xml file. This distribution management block will tell you where to deploy it. Okay, but our Nexus requires authentication to deploy. If you just put distribution management, it'll come back with a 401 error. Okay, so that's what we will look at it now. So I will go here to my settings file. Hopefully I should have it over here. And I'm going to comment this section out. And I will go and try to run this command again.
Oh, we can see the only whiteboard.
Okay, I will show you. Give me a second. I think I can't share my screen and whiteboard at the same time. I'm not sure. I'll have to figure that out, but let me stop sharing this and share my screen. You're able to see my screen?
Yeah.
So see this is the error that we were getting last time, right? Maven clean deploy, I'm getting a 401 error. See it? Okay. I'll go to the POM file and I'll show you what I have. I have this distribution management section over here. If you look at it closely, it has the ID, it has a name, it has a URL. Those are three fundamental things that you really need. The other ones you can just ignore or read about them later. Okay. And then the next one also, I have named it as Nexus only because they are both going to the same Nexus repository. I don't have different authentication for them. I can always name it as Nexus snapshot and a Nexus release if I have to. Okay. If I do it as Nexus snapshot and Nexus release, it will be a little difficult for you to grasp it. So I have named it same, but I will show it with this with a different name also. As soon as I read this, right, it is failing. It is failing with 401. It clearly tells me it's expecting a username and password. I need to give a username and password. There's no way I can put username and password over here. Even if it was there, it wouldn't be safe because then this file gets committed and everybody out in the world who can get access to your GitHub repository would get access to your user ID and password if your Nexus is public. So not a good place to put. So what you have is you have a file called settings.xml, and that file settings.xml is inside your Maven installation folder conf directory, this one. Okay, I will come to it, how we can manage it ourselves. But for now, you can go in and this file is this way. Okay, there's the default file. If you notice it, that's how it is. Okay, there is a section over here called servers. Now, just remove this. Like I've added it. Okay, I've copied from top. I copied one of this and I put the ID. So notice this ID. This ID and this ID has to match. So I said I have a, if anybody comes with the ID Nexus, the username and password for this is admin1234. So I'm going to save this now and then try to do this command again. And it will work this time. See that? Okay. If I try to put some other password over here, just for the fun of it, and then try to run this command again, it should give me a 401. That's the expectation. See that? You would come and tell me, hey, Samir, adding this 1, 2, 3, 4 over here is not safe, right? This is not safe. So let's do one thing. Let's go to, not here. Let's go to this guy over here. And I'm going to give you this reference. Please save it if you have to save it somewhere. Okay, it's a very good reference. And if you notice here, it's talking about servers, the same thing that I talked about earlier. And there's a lot more if you notice it. It's not just username, ID, and password. There's a private key, passphrase, file permission, so on and so forth. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this little link over here. Come on. Right. So if you come here, what you can do is you can create a encrypted master password. Okay, just this. Okay, just knowing this it's a big takeaway for you today, because many teams that you will go to, they would be using an unencrypted password that's openly available to everybody to see. Okay, because many organizations do not know about it. So just this will save you a lot of effort and probably will give you a lot of recognition too. So let's play around and do this. This is really, really quick. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just copy it from here. You can even say MVN minus EMP, I believe. That also should work. Oh, I didn't copy. Just paste it over here. And give some complex master password. I'll call it as complex. That's not what you type, okay? You type some complex master password. Something like that. That'll give you a nice string, this string. You have to take this string, but you have to put it in a file called settings-security.xml, this one. And you can put it in your empty repository, like how they have said it over here. So I'll copy this from here. I'll go to my .m2 repository. Here, and I already have a setting security file actually. So I don't want to change this. I'll keep it, well, I don't need it. I can bring this password from here, this password from here, and I can paste it over there. This file will not be there in your machine, okay? It is there because I've been playing with it maybe. I'll put it over here. And now as I put it over here, the next thing that I need to do is I have a master password, okay? So look at it this way. You have a master password and you use that master password to create your other passwords, other encrypted passwords. That's what the concept is. So now since I have the master password, I can create an encrypted password with the password being admin1234. That's my real password, okay? So I'll go here, I'll paste it, and I'll say admin1234. Enter. It has created this password for me. I will take it from here and I'll go to my file over here. Where was that POM file? Here. And I'll change, not here, here. And I'll change this plain text password to encrypted password. And let's see if it still works, okay? Does it work?
Yes.
Good. So look at it now. You have a settings file that you can actually put it on your repository if you need to, just commit it. But your settings security file is going to stay with you. This is not going to go anywhere. You're not going to commit it anywhere. You're not going to give it to your developer. So developers will not be able to upload anything to your Nexus repository, because you don't want them to upload anything to Nexus repository from their laptops. You want them to download it from their laptops if need be, but not upload it, right? So just with this, they cannot do anything. They don't have the master password, right? And that master password is in settings security.xml. They don't have it. I'm going to roll back my change over here. And I'm going to roll back this change over here. Just
Sorry,
so
Samir,
that
bhai, how did you use the master password? I can't.
I gave you this link in
Okay.
WhatsApp, and I showed you there's a small link over here that you can go to, which will tell you exactly what you need to do, Seth.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I'll copy and paste it over here too. And that link clearly tells you what you need to do, because I'm just copying and pasting.
Okay.
How to create a master password, Maven -- encrypt master password, and give a complex password over here, only you know.
Sure.
Okay. And you store it in your vault or see tips over here how to do it, so on and so forth. That gives you a master password. And that's also encrypted master password if you notice it. Okay. But that's a master password. So put that master password in settings security.xml, put it up, put that settings file, settings security in the .mp
Got it.
folder.
Yeah.
And once you put it in there, next time when you run a Maven encrypt password and give you actual plain text password, it will give you an encrypted password like this, which is based out from this master password. So if you put some other password over here, and okay, I think I should have shown you that. So now you notice this, right? I have changed my setting security to back to my master password, and the master password which was here, let me put it let me put it over here, which was generated with a different master password. Okay. Because I've changed it, right? This was my older one. So if you go here, if you see, I don't have this anymore as the master password. I have FV. The one that was generated was 3P. Okay. But I have kept this master password DP in the project settings file, TP. Now, if I try to run the command, technically it should fail because I have a different master password. This is what developers will try to do, let's say, right? They will try to generate their own password. See that? 401. It will only work if I go back and use this password if they get access to my settings security file with this password, then it will work for them. Otherwise, it will not work for them. Do you get that point?
Yes.
Good. Now, assignments for you. Read through this reference, which is settings reference, and then read through the POM reference, this reference, as much as you can. You don't have to go through each and every one, but it's a lot of good information over here in just this 2 links. Okay. How many of you were able to watch that 4-hour course which I sent you for Maven?
Oh, sir, I watched.
Who is that?
Nikhil.
Nikhil.
I
Okay.
watched
Anybody
up to
else watched?
10. I also watched, sir. I went on a glance.
Okay. But I initially, when I looked at his course, I really liked it. I felt he will cover most of the stuff that I'm talking about. Did he cover everything that I talked about today?
I didn't find some of the topics, the recent one.
Okay, good. So I'm not wasting your time. So you're learning something new. Good. Okay. So this doesn't end the whole thing. Okay. We will continue with what I want you to do is finish those 3 links which I've sent you. Make sure that you watch that 4-hour course which I've sent you. Make sure that you're able to download Nexus and able to run Nexus and able to do that Maven clean deploy by updating your settings file in your Maven installation folder. Don't be creative and put the settings file in the empty repository, which you can do. Don't do it as yet. Okay. And then make a change in your section over here to add the distribution management to point to your. So how did I get this link? This link, you might ask. Nobody asked me, but I'll tell you. If you go to this admin over here, if you go to repositories, and if you go to snapshot and releases individually, let's say snapshot, this is from where I got this snapshot. snapshot. And when I go to releases, that's where I got it from, releases. Okay, here, this one.
And these Maven releases and all those snapshot folders, those are by default, right? I mean,
Those were created by default, so I don't want to spend time right now
okay.
to show you how to create it. But as part of the scope, we will see it. We will delete everything and we will create everything from scratch, ground up. But since you guys are starting right now, right? Don't go delete anything. See how much you can play with what's already given to you. Better is included, right?
Okay.
So this was better is included. As soon as you install, this is all there for you. But you see, Docker is not there. When we start working with Docker, we'll have to add the Docker repository. At that time, you need to know what's a hosted proxy and group when you download that, or when you install it or create those repositories. Okay, I hope this was a good session. Hopefully, let me see if I can stop recording. You guys have any questions before I stop recording, or you good for me to stop the recording?
I'm good, sir.
Okay.
Good.
So what I want you to do is finish up this fundamental stuff that I've told you, okay, so that you get more benefit of learning whatever I'm showing you, because things will get much more interesting as we move on, will get much more complex as we move on. So if you do not follow everything that I talked about in today's session is the session that you should go to, and you should watch it as much as you can, okay? Because it covers almost everything. If you've not followed something, please go back to the older sessions and